From judge to pro dancer to secret keeper, our next guest on the Dancing with Our Stars Diaries has played a lot of roles in the history of the event. From Get Out and Dance in the bustling metropolis of Weston, Wisconsin, please welcome Heather Wudstrack. Heather, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Just hanging in there and trying to entertain folks in this social distancing era that we have. And obviously, Dancing with Our Stars, a long run in the community, 10 years, and a lot of unique people with unique stories to be told. So I've got some free time on my hands, so I said, what the heck? Let's dust off the microphone and the video camera and have some fun chats with some of my favorite people from the event. And of course, you're one of those.
Maybe. I was so excited when I heard you were going to do this project.
Well, I have to give you some credit because I had the idea and was real gung-ho about it, and then I started to second guess it, but you were one of the people, along with Jody Wires, to encourage me to pursue it and say, if you have the vision, you know you can make it happen. So thank you for that.
You are welcome.
All right, so let's jump right to it. You first served as judge in 2016 alongside Jay Morth and Nikolai Karchev. What did you think when you agreed to be a judge, and how did you prepare for that role?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I was really excited to be asked, and I was a little nervous because a lot of the competitors and other pros are friends of mine in the community. So I did a lot of research and, asked a lot of judges in our NDCA circuit, like, what do they look for when they're judging? And looking at my experience as a competitor, what stands out to me. So that's really how I tried to prepare, and I tried to take my own personal bias towards any type of dancer out of what I was looking for when I was judging.
What did you remember from that first experience and sitting there on the stage in the chair and watching the performances?
Just the production of everything and how well everybody prepared, and how seamless everything ran, from the intros to how the dancers came on and off and the criteria. Like, everything was so seamless from a production standpoint. So I really appreciated that because it reminded me a lot of how we compete when we go and compete at competitions. So it was really incredible to see this whole vision and to be on the other side and just really looking at all the competitors and dancers and the pros and celebrating all their hard work.
So being a judge, I mean, you really have to have that keen eye. Did you find it easy to follow the routines, or was it challenging? I guess, put us in that seat, and what's that feel like? Or what are you looking for? What are you doing as far as being a judge?
So one of the things that I look for is how clean is your dancing? Is the dance recognizable, for one? Then the other thing I'm really looking for is, are you having fun? What is your story? Are you trying to engage with not only your partner, but also the audience? There were some really incredible numbers that I can distinctly remember from that time. And not all of them were the most technically danced, but they told a story, they had fun, they were really having a lot of fun with not only their partner, their audience. So it's really, what I look for is someone who has connected with their number and is really trying to sell a story or a feeling within their dance.
You obviously did a good job because we brought you back in 2017. So how did it feel to return, and what was it like to work with a new cast of judges, this time teaming up with Matthew Rasmussen and Chris Mangless?
It was actually really fun. I was really excited to be asked back, and I was really honored to do that. Um, Obviously, I work with Matt, so we really have a good time together. But it was really fun to meet Chris, and he had asked, what do I look for? I'm like, hey, you just gotta go from the gut, and if it moves you, it moves you. And it was really kind of fun to kind of show him or tell him some of the things that we looked for and like what we noticed when they danced. And he was really a lot of fun to work with.
Because obviously he's not a ballroom dance expert. He's a celebrity chef, but has a unique personality. And he had judged once previously. He judged in 2013, and then we said, "Hey, let's bring Chris back." So, how did you think he did as a judge?
I thought he did a really great job. He brings a really interesting perspective to the judging table. It's one thing to be a dancer and to know, oh, your feet are supposed to be turned out or you're supposed to take a heel step here. But he's someone like the rest of the audience who is going to go, wow, I really didn't understand that dancer. Wow, that really touched me, or that really grabbed my attention. And I think that's really important, to have someone like that who understands from a spectator point of view and doesn't get wrapped up in, oh, this is the technicality. Did you finish your line? How's your top line? All of those kind of technical things that we as dancers can kind of focus on more than some of the other things, which are just as important.
2 days after the 2017 event, you're contacted by me for a special project. What was that, and what did you think after hearing about it?
Well, I distinctly remember telling you at the event in 2017, if it's going to be the last year, you have to dance. So when you contacted me, I was so excited. I was like, yes, I really want to do this. And I think it would be an awesome way to end this really great fundraising event, and to help not only the community celebrate, but also kind of help you celebrate the event in a different and special way.
So you certainly planted that seed. Did you ever expect that you would hear from me though and say, "Yeah, I want to do it"? And
I had a very good inclination.
you like care to elaborate on that, or is it just a good gut feeling?
Intuition. We've worked together in a professional aspect for a number of years prior to that night, and you had always talked about how hard it must be for people who aren't dancers to learn such a hard routine in such a short amount of time. And you've always talked about your respect and admiration for those people who not only do the fundraising but also do the dancing. And I think there's always been a part of you that was kind of interested in that, but you hadn't necessarily found the right person to push you yet. And then there I was.
So a few weeks later, after you agree to do this surprise dance with me, because that's the way I put it out there. I did not want to make it public. I knew that had I made it public, certainly, I think the support would have been the same, but we would have lost that surprise element. And to me, as I said in my intro video, before we perform, there aren't many opportunities in life to surprise 1,000+ people, especially a lot of folks who are some of your closest friends and family members. That opportunity rarely comes about in life. So this was one of those rare opportunities, and I knew, okay, if I'm going to do this, I really want to go for that shock factor. Not in the sense that our dance was shocking from a routine perspective, but just the shocking fact that, oh my gosh, he actually is dancing, and he'd been working on it for a year and we had no idea about it.
Yeah.
So a few weeks after agreeing to that, Dr. Marty Williams reaches out to me and asks if he can dance with you for the All-Star finale. He had, when he took part in 2016, he danced with Jamie Blair. And at this point in time, in February of 2017, actually, I think by this point we were probably in April. Jamie had a child, and she said, "I'm good being a mom. I'm not looking to return to the event." So Marty knew that Mina Whitty and the folks at Simply Ballroom had a lot of people dancing. And so he said, "Hey, why don't I look for somebody else?" And he, of course, throws your name out there. And I'll never forget, it was a Saturday afternoon, and I was not expecting that. And I get the text message, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So I quickly instant message you, freaking out. How did you respond to all that?
I remember your message, and I think it was shortly after that that Marty had actually asked me if I would be willing to do that. And I said, well, you're going to have to work the logistics out with Shawn, if that's going to work. But I remember going, okay, this is doable, but how are we going to keep it a secret? Because I know Marty from seeing him at a number of dance events throughout the years. I've known Marty for a number of years before we started dancing together. And I know that secrets are not really his forte. You know, he's kind of wears his heart on his sleeve kind of guy, and that's one of the things I really appreciate about him. But I knew that we would not be able to bring him in on the secret and keep it a secret. So it was really just a logistic thing of making sure that when he would come to the studio, you wouldn't be there either. And we had to get a lot of people involved from a studio aspect to keep the secret from Tom and Anna, which are obviously people at our studio, other staff members, and like Matt, and other students who might be in the studio at the same time. So everybody in our studio knew this secret except for Marty. And I got in so much trouble.
Yep, and we'll talk about that later, as well as our dance. But share a little bit about what your experience was like with Marty.
With Marty is such a really driven individual. He really puts his heart and soul into everything he does, whether it's dancing or driving boat for his ski team or practicing. He's a dentist in Green Bay, and he just really does whatever he can for everybody, and he really puts everybody else ahead of him. So it was really really a pleasure to start to work with him and just start to see his true personality start to come out in his dancing, which I really pushed him to explore how he could emote more through his dancing and through any of this solo or whatever you want to call it, showcase number, because he's a very technical guy. Here's point A, point B, point C, and I went from A to B to C. I'm like, yes, that's how we do it, but what do you do between? Because it's what you do in between those points that really drives the dance. And I was really proud of him because he really took my advice to heart, and he really started to throw himself personally into his dancing versus trying to be so technically perfect, which is really turned into a really beautiful routine.
And how did you guys go about picking that dance and song that you did at the event?
Well, first it kind of started with a concept. I asked him, you know, what do you want to do? And he was kind of naming off dances. And I said, well, hold on a second. What story do you want to tell when you dance? What is the emotion that you want to start to portray? Because even looking at Dancing with the Stars, the routines that really stand out are the ones that have a story that grab you in an emotional way. And he had never experienced that kind of thought process yet. So he kind of was like, huh, I don't know what I would want to do. So I told him that that was his homework. I said, you have to think about what it is you want to put out on the floor, because I want you to put everything you have into this dance and leave it out on the floor. So that's when he came back and said, you know, I want to celebrate my family who passed away in a plane crash, and also my mother-in-law it's his mother, who recently had passed away. And I said, okay, well then we're gonna do a remembrance number. And I looked for music for probably a month. Like all these super sad songs, I'd send him messages and be like, you're killing me here, trying to find a song, and like hours and hours of all this sad, sappy music. And we finally found one. And what was really fun for me is that it was a dance that he'd never done before. And he'd been dancing before me for about 5, 6, 7 years. So it was really great that I could challenge him with a dance he'd never known before, and pushed him to tell a story through his movement versus just doing figures.
So I know that you tried to keep us on different nights, but there was at least once or twice where we had lessons on the same night, but at least we always had that hour buffer. And I do recall at least one time driving home from Weston on Highway 29 going east and seeing Marty and his truck heading west on 29. But you know, at least there's a nice grassy median between the two roads, and he has no idea that I'm going to be coming the other way, so he's not looking for me. But I obviously know he's coming the other way, so my awareness is very heightened, and I'm looking for that vehicle. And sure enough, I spotted him one of the times, which I thought was funny. But glad that he didn't have the bug to get to the studio extra early that night and do some stretching or just observing of other performances, because that would have at least had the cat out of the bag with him.
Yeah, we usually put at least an hour in between you and Marty, and we usually had someone looking out to see if he pulled in. I think there was one time I was worried about. I was like, Matt, I'm like, can you watch the parking lot? And if Marty pulls in, let me know, and we'll come up with something. Like
sneak me out the back door.
Sneak you out the back door. You had to come, like, to talk about something paperwork related that I needed to sign for the Red Cross, or like something, like we had some crazy story, or that you were going to get video of his dancing or something.
There you go. Nice. Well done. So when it comes back to us and choosing our song and dance, I knew right away that I wanted to dance to Danny Gokey's Rise. That song means a lot to me, about having a good faith base and keeping a positive attitude and really making an impact, positive impact in people's lives. So I give that song to you, and then, you know, again, kind of share what you all do with that, because obviously I didn't choose a rumba or what have you, and the choreography. So I knew I wanted to do that much, and I put the rest in your hands. So walk us through what you all did after you knew the song that I wanted to perform to.
So after I got the song, I was actually really excited because it has an incredibly danceable beat. It's very clear. So the timing of the song and the beat of the song really drives what dance you do. Now, granted, we can slow it down, we can speed it up to kind of fit the dance parameters, I guess you could call it. But we didn't really need to do that with this song. So it was really kind of like a sign that, of course, it's a rumba. And I'm like, you realize that this is a rumba, right? And it's kind of like your tagline for this entire event for the entirety of the series. And you're like, yeah, okay. I'm like, all right, we're going to do this. It's going to be a rumba. I asked you, is there any injuries that I need to know about? Do you have any issues? Because that also kind of drives what you can do in your choreography. So I told you, I'm like, we're not going to dance for any more than 2 minutes. And because 2 minutes worth of choreography is a lot to learn, especially in 6 months. And so Tom Netterval and I, who is the manager at our studio, we worked together and we put together some choreography for you. And then from there, we started learning it. I think it was August before the event, about 6 months before the event. Yep. And we had very clear goals that, okay, you're going to learn your choreography by such and such a time, and then I need you to perform it in studio a couple times before the event, especially because you're a seasoned showman, but you're not a seasoned dancer and performer in dance.
So I'm definitely glad that you recommended that, because I like sports analogies. I'm a sports guy, so it's batting practice. It's getting those reps in, so that when it comes time to step into the batter's box in an actual game, you know what to expect. You can rely on that experience. Okay, I've done this before. I've been in front of people, whether it's 10 people, 30 people, or 1,300 people. At least you have that experience. So I appreciated that. And I also appreciate you encouraging me to take some coaching, which I know I was not open to at first. We don't need to do that. I mean, come on, right? We're in a good spot. So explain to me, from your perspective as the pro and the teacher, what difference you saw in me prior to coaching and then after.
So coaching is a really great tool, not only for you as the student, but for me as the professional, because those coaches are coming in with a neutral eye. They don't know what your routine is supposed to be. They don't really have any opinion of who you are one way or the other, unless of course they've seen you a couple times. But the reason I had asked for you to take coaching, and you took coaching from Tommy Giacchino and also then from Nathan Daniels, and they give two very similar but different perspectives, because one is a lady and the other one is a gentleman, but they both have incredible experience. They are champion dancers in their own right, and they are experts at taking your routine from, okay, I learned my choreography from this base level, and as a coach, they just put in so much energy into your dance. They pull more out of you than you thought that you could. So it's like adding dynamite to your routine. They say, hey, this part is working, let's jazz it up, or hey, let's change this lift or change this drop, or hey, if you're having problems with this trick, let's try this instead. And they can really take a routine that you learned and really put a lot of sparkle on it, I guess you could say. And it was really interesting from from an instructor standpoint to see the difference in your dancing, like how excited you got after you took both of those coaching sessions, and to go, wow, I really feel that my routine took a big jump. And that was the whole purpose, because like I did with Marty, I wanted you to leave everything you could give out on the floor. And I didn't want you to look back and go, man, I wish I would have done X, Y, Z. I'm like, you gotta go all in right now, because this is the only time you have to do it.
So we make it to event weekend. The secret is still intact, but we need to find time to rehearse. The team is going to do it about noon on Saturday, day of the event, but obviously we can't say, hey, yeah, we're going to practice too. Everybody would know. So I said, oh, I guess we initially agreed upon 7 a.m. morning of the event. And then I'm not a good sleeper, especially on the weekend of a big event, even though we did have 2 events the night before, the private meet and greet at 335 with Pete and Max, and then the disco party at the KI Convention Center. I think I left there about 11 p.m., got home, I slept midnight to 4, and I was up and ready to go. And I don't drink any caffeine. I'm not a coffee guy. I don't drink any soda. It is just absolute water and Rallyman fire, I guess you'd say. So I arrive at the convention center at 6 a.m. and I shoot you a nice text that says, get your ass up, and we're rehearsing early.
What was it, 5:30?
I thought it was 6. I thought I at least waited until 6 o'clock before I texted you.
I think I was up at 5:30, and I was like, I wonder how early he's gonna text me.
You knew it.
Because I was already getting ready.
You were anticipating it, so you're like, all right, I'll be down at 6:30. So we started a half hour earlier just to be even more safe, and we begin to do our first run through. And all of a sudden that's interrupted. Do you remember what that was and what you saw?
I remember that I heard the door, and then I saw someone out of the corner of my eye, and I was like, oh no, we're busted. And you're like, no, it's all good. I know them. But I think you went and talked to them.
I did. So I was freaked just because I'm watching you and your face as we're about to go, and all of a sudden you're like not doing the moves that you're supposed to be doing, and you're focused on what's over my shoulder, which I am not too excited about. Not that I'm upset with you, but I'm like, okay, there's probably a person back there. And I spin around quickly and I see one of the convention center banquet staff, somebody who I had made a relationship with over the years. And so he knew me fairly well. And I just said, hey, buddy, here's what's going on. Mum's the word. And he was cool with it. So we were able to do it. We did it twice. We did 2 walkthroughs, and I felt comfortable. You felt comfortable. And I knew that before not too long, people would probably start trickling in. So I'm like, all right, you're done. Get out of here. And then it was, keep your distance for the most of the rest of the day. So event night comes, and you and Marty are in the first half of the showcase with your Bolero. So kind of talk me through how Marty was feeling, how you were feeling, and then how you both felt when Max, during his judging, said, this is the best dance so far.
Marty was having a hard time with just all the energy. He gets really nervous before he performs. So he was having some issues. Just
some pictures here from the performance.
Look at him. That was like our first line. But he was having a hard time dealing with or getting his anxiety under control. So I remember we were standing backstage, and I just I grabbed his hand and we just kind of hugged each other for the watching the number that was before us, and finally his whole body just relaxed. So that was really a cool moment, and I just told him, I said, you know what, you just gotta let it go and just go out there and put your heart on the floor. And and it was honestly one of the cleanest performance he had up to that point for this number. So that was really incredible, and it was really fun to see that our goal of him really performing from his heart and had actually happened, which is so hard to do as a gentleman dancer, which you can understand because you have so much that you're thinking about. You're thinking about your choreography and where you go and how you lead her and what direction do I go now. And you know, he did such a incredible job, and I wasn't surprised that Max noticed or acknowledged Marty's skill, but I was really thrilled to hear the comments that we did from the judges, and it was really an honor to hear that because both Peta and Max are dancers that I admire a great deal and really enjoy their dancing, and I know it really meant a lot to Marty as well to get that feedback that yes, it was a great number, and you know, as a gentleman, that's even harder. So it was really great for me to celebrate all of Marty's hard work because he put so much time and effort into learning his dance and choreography, and just all the time he spent like really relearning how to put himself into his dancing, and it's been really an incredible journey.
It was a beautiful performance. You guys were fantastic. And so that's done. And now, all right, you need to shift gears to pulling off the secret. So kind of walk me through what the rest of your night was up until just before we performed.
So this was the part that was the hardest, because Marty's done and he's like, okay, what are we gonna do? I'm like, well, you should go watch the rest and, you know, go hang out with your family, and I'll, you know. So I sent him on his way, and then towards the end of the second half, I changed costumes, and I remember that I had grabbed a black bathrobe. And a lot of dancers will cover up between numbers with a bathrobe or some sort of robe to just kind of keep their bodies warm. So I did that to make sure that, you know, no one could see the costume and go, oh, what is that for? And then I snuck around the back of the dressing room along the outside wall to meet you when the lights went down for your number. And I was like, okay, I hope Marty is okay because I'm not going to be where I said I was going to be. And I remember telling Trish, I said, Marty's going to look for me during the lineup. Tell him that I'm in the bathroom, that I'll be out in a minute.
And Trish being our great director, and Trish Nitschke, of course, she was in on the secret. I had to put her in on the secret just because she's calling the shots, but somebody that I knew I could trust. So for me, I had my clothes, my dance clothes, already stashed. I put them there, I believe, that morning, early that morning. So just off from the ballroom is the kitchen area, and there is a private technical room with a bunch of servers and whatnot. So when I had talked with Mike Jubert, my contact at the convention center, about, you know, I had to fill him in on the secret because I needed this special changing area. He said, we can store it in here. Nobody will touch it. Nobody will question it. So, okay. I knew when the polka with PETA began, that was my cue to get my butt backstage or side stage into my private dressing room and get out of my tux wear into my dance wear, but then obviously having to throw back on a white shirt, which thanks to you, you said, hey, just put Velcro where the buttons would be, because then it'll be easier to pull off. And I had to do all this because I was introducing our dance. You know, I was going out and doing a little rally speech, which I'll get to in a moment. So that's why I had to recover back up. And I'll never forget, I wish I would have had you or somebody else in there helping me, because it doesn't seem like it takes a lot to change your clothes, but when you're in that moment and you have that added pressure, you're a little more frantic, so you're not as efficient. And I can hear the music out in the ballroom, and I hear the polka with PETA ending, and I know that the slow dance with Max is up next, and they're dancing to It's a Wonderful World, but I knew the DJ saying he was going to do a shorter version of it, so I'm like, oh boy, I have like 90 seconds. But thankfully I was able to get into the costume that I needed to do, and then met you at the side of the judges stage and kind of looked at each other and, all right, this is really happening. And so walked to the other side of the judges stage. Max comes off the dance floor. I grab a microphone from Cammie. I go out there and I get the crowd excited for what I dubbed an encore performance. And I think at least one time you had seen me go through that whole spiel of how I was going to do it during a dance lesson. So what are you thinking as you're standing there on the side, moments away from We're Gonna Dance, and actually seeing me set it up as I had said to do? And wow, a year's worth of planning is now actually about to happen.
I just was trying to be present in the moment and just really take in the energy and be there, be present, celebrate your hard work. And it was really fun to see all of the hard work that we had done start to become apparent to the audience, you know, because it was like a ripple, like in the ballroom. So it was really interesting to hear everyone just get real quiet, and then all of a sudden all the noise, and it was just so incredible. And I remember going, okay, I remember that I needed to help you like get out of the shirt and out of the jacket. I was like, okay, because I didn't know how long your intro video was, so I was like, okay, I'm ready. So I was just waiting for you to come back off stage and trying to gauge your energy from when you came off the floor to see how that was going to translate from being the MC to being the dancer.
As I think back to that moment right now, my heart is racing, just because it was obviously racing in that adrenaline way, rally man, fire up the crowd way. But then, yeah, okay, now I have to completely, and I didn't say completely flip the script, but now I need to remember everything that we've been rehearsing for 6 months. And I'm actually going to be performing this. And you alluded to the intro video that I had put together, and I had watched it several times prior to the event to try to get all the emotion out, because it did make me very emotional. And it was long. It was about a 4-minute video, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So Heather and I are going to be standing on the edge of the dance floor for like 4 minutes before we actually go dance, and I'm going to be up there yapping on the screen. So I was just, don't listen, just focus on you, focus on those first steps. But as I said, my heart was racing, my legs started tightening up, and it was a little bit of a struggle, those nerves beforehand. Of course, you being a seasoned pro, I'm sure you felt a lot better than I did. It was just another walk in the park for you, right?
No, everyone gets nervous, even me, especially in a new environment like this was, because I hadn't really had a lot of experience dancing in front of a big live crowd like that, and it not being a dance crowd. You know, so you're dancing in front of your community and your friends and your family. It has a very different energy than it does when you're dancing in front of, I love that picture. Sorry. It feels very different from when I perform at, let's say, any dance sport competition that we do or showcases. So it was hard to get myself under control too, and I feed off of like your energy and Marty's energy, and you know, trying to be the centered one who can still drive this routine in case something goes off kilter, which it didn't. So that was good.
I survived the lift. That probably stressed me out the most. We made it through the lift, and then I goofed up the ending a little bit. But you know what? I've finally learned. It's going to surprise you now after all the lessons that we had. I never talked this way, but there is no perfection in dance.
It's true.
It absolutely is true. So we walked around. I guess both of us kind of did a half of a circle walk, and then Callie, my daughter, ran out and gave me flowers. We rejoined. We walked toward the judges, and then I just absolutely lose it, because not only do I realize that this is the end of a year's worth of amazing hard work to pull off an awesome secret, but it's also the end of what had been my life for 6 years running the show, and was the end of a 10-year run of what was a great event in the community. So clearly I was very emotional, and you know, walk me through what you're feeling in those moments.
Well, first, I was just so happy that we got through the routine. That's always my main goal, is let's just make sure we get through it. And I was just so proud of you, because you really threw yourself into the routine. You know, you really performed well at a really high level for someone who had never done it before. So that was really exciting for me. And I knew going into this that not only was this a highly emotional number for you, but it was also a highly emotional event. So it was the culmination of two really big goals in one specific moment. So I knew that when it was done, all of the emotion and energy was going to kind of crash over you at the very end. So I was prepared for that, and I didn't realize how emotional that it would make me as well, because you know, we had talked about this number and how it was going to go for a year, and you know, it was just such an incredible evening and performance, and it was such a high at that point because we pulled it off. I couldn't believe we actually pulled it off. And for it to happen the way it did, I was really kind of overcome, and I knew that you would be as well. And I remember after we met up, we hugged, and it was one of the highlights of my dancing career.
Well, thank you. I know that it's been 2 years since it happened. We've communicated numerous times about it, and I certainly look very fondly upon it. And again, me being the sports analogy guy, I compare it to winning a Super Bowl, retiring, and being inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame all in one fell swoop. So that's what that whole moment meant for me. So again, a wide range of emotions, but so glad that you said yes, and that we pulled off the secret, which was awesome. And as you said, ended the event on a high note. But there was a little bit of more business to do, and that was awards. And that meant a little bit more work for you. So, okay, we did have a video that recapped the night as the stars and the pros came back out onto the dance floor. So walk me through that frenetic 2 to 3 minutes for you to get prepared for that.
Well, one of the skills that us ladies who are dance professionals learn through our dance career is how to change very, very fast and how to pick clothing that you can get in and out of yourself in a very fast manner. So I remember after Peta and Max and Chris were done with their commentary, I left at a full out run and was trying to get backstage through the whole lineup. And all of a sudden, Marty's standing there. He's like, I'm so mad at you. I'm like, you can be mad at me later. I have to change. And he was like, oh my God. He's like, you're in so much trouble. I'm like, don't worry. I'll meet up with you. Just go. So I remember just changing as fast as I could, throwing on my dress shoes because I had to change out of our dancing shoes, and throwing on the dress that I wore and running back out. And I actually met him, I think, right as he was stepping out onto the floor. So I was really impressed that I could actually make it all the way to change and come all the way back. And I remember Marty was, the entire time we were walking out, he's like, I can't believe you kept that a secret from me. I can't believe you kept it a secret from me. I'm like, yeah, that was kind of the point. We kept it a secret from everybody. And I still, to this day, will get grief for it.
Oh, I know. Yeah, he's famously dubbed you the secret keeper. So anytime he and I are talking about you, you're not Heather, you're the secret keeper.
Yes. Well, this is also a secret that I kept from him. He doesn't know that I'm doing this interview.
Oh, wonderful. Well, when this airs, oh boy, he can get back at you even more. I can't wait. So awards take place, and it's judges' choice, and you guys are the runner-up. So walk me through what you and Marty were feeling when you heard that.
I think we looked at each other and kind of went, are they serious? Really? You know, just because we weren't expecting it. Our goal at that point was really just to perform and put everything we had out onto the floor. And we were just so happy with the way our dance went that night, and just so thankful to be a part of the event as a whole, and just to be a participant was incredible. So we were both taken by surprise when that happened, and I was so happy for Marty because he put in so much time and effort and dedication. So it was so incredibly wonderful that he was recognized by two really amazing dancers who recognized his skill, and then also from Chris, because he also thought it was a great dance. So it really helped Marty find this confidence in himself that he is a great dancer and he can perform at an incredibly high level when he has the encouragement and the time to do so.
Well, there you have it. You survived DWOS Diaries. It wasn't so bad, was it?
No, it was awesome. And I was so happy that you had asked me not only to be a judge and to perform, but then to also ask me to be a part of this, because Dancing with Our Stars was such an incredible event, and really holds a special place in my heart. So I'm happy to revisit these memories again with you and with Marty when he finds out.
I can't wait to find out his reaction. It will be another good one. We got you again, Marty. Sorry, buddy.
Sorry.
Heather, appreciate it so much. Always great to catch up with you. And
Thanks,
thanks
Shawn.
again.
Anytime. Thank you.